Welcome to the Makeover Monday Challenge, a weekly challenge brought to you by the Paper Crafters Library and Sunny Stampin' Studios. Now, the purpose of Makeover Mondays is to help you learn how to take the ideas and inspiration you find on the internet and make it your own. Now, this challenge is strictly a work from your stash challenge, so every Monday I take a project I find on the internet and show you how I used that project for inspiration and how I then made it my own using supplies from my stash. Your challenge is to do the same, and I'll give you more details at the end of this video. First off, here's today's inspiration piece, a fun birthday card by Heather Nichols. Heather is another one of the Paper Tray Inc.'s design team members, and I've been a long-time blog follower of hers as well, loving her simple, rustic style. As I show you my card and how to make it, I'll share with you how I drew inspiration from Heather's to create my own. So I kept with a craft card base, same as Heather did, except that in Heather's she had a square card, and for mine I decided to create a rectangular card. Mine is a standard 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card created out of a 4 1/4 by 11 inch piece of craft cardstock, which I scored at 5 1/2 inches, then folded in half. Now Heather's was just a basic, the plain craft smooth card base with some white sponging around the edges. For mine, I omitted the sponging and I decided to add some texture to my card base. So as you can see here, I embossed my card front using the Stampin' Up! Perfect Polka Dots embossing folder and my Big Shot. Now on Heather's card, she rounds the bottom 2 corners. For mine, since I do like the rounded corner look, I've decided that I'm going to round the top and bottom corners. So for that, I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers Crocodile Corner Chomper, and this is the 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch one, and I'm using the 1/2 inch corner. So I'm just feeding it all the way in and then punching. And then as you can see here, it gives my corners a really nice rounded edge. Heather decorated her card front with a strip of pattern paper, which I'm also going to do. And this piece here is from the Fancy Pants Designs Love Story collection, and I've cut it to 2 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches high. Now on Heather's card, she pinked one edge of it. For mine, I decided to border it using some Poppy Parade cardstock from Stampin' Up, punched with the scallop trim border punch. So here, just to show you what I did, because whenever you're creating a border in strips like this and you have it on either side of your pattern paper, you want to make sure that the scallop on one side matches the scallop on the other side. So to do that, I'm taking my punch and I've got it flipped upside down so that the window is facing me. And then I can make sure that I have my paper positioned so that I will get an even border. And then I go ahead and punch, and that just gets it started. And then afterwards, I'm just going to flip this way, and I'm using the guide on this side. Afterwards, I can continue on punching the border down the rest of the strip. So there you can see I now have my 2 strips, and I just need to trim. There's this tiny little amount here that I need to trim. So at this point, I can now take my double-sided adhesive and I can place some along the edge of my scallop border, and then here I'm just going to use my grid paper to align it. And if you notice, like in this case, I trimmed my scallop border a little bit longer than my pattern paper piece. I'm just going to trim that off afterwards. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with this side here. And I always use the lines on my grid paper to make sure that when I'm aligning something or matting it, it's straight. So then at this point, you see here I have this small little border of red. I can just take my snips and cut it off, or if it's long, you can also just place it inside your paper cutter and then use your paper cutter to trim it off as well if you're worried about not having a straight hand for doing this. And then I'm now ready to attach this to my card. Now in Heather's, she put a band of ribbon going down it. For mine, I opted just to keep it with the pattern paper without a ribbon band at all. So I can go ahead and stick this to my card. Now whenever I'm working with an embossed texture, rather than using my dry double-sided adhesive, I always like to use my wet adhesive, and that would be my Tombow Mono multi-liquid glue. I find that the dry adhesive doesn't grip the embossed surface quite as well. So I'm going to stick this so that it's about 3/4 of an inch in from the left edge of my cardstock. And then just pressing it down to give my glue a chance to set. So you can see here I now have my pattern paper on my card front. So the next thing that I'm going to work on is my greeting. So for my greeting, I've cut a 1 1/4 by 4 1/4 inch piece of Whisper White cardstock. I'm going to use some of my Dotto adhesive, which is a repositionable adhesive, and place it on my grid paper, and the Dotto will help keep it in place and keep it from shifting when I'm stamping. Now for my greeting, I've chosen one that says Love You Forever, and it's from the Paper Tray Think Big Favorites 11 stamp set. It's comes with a couple of nice big greetings plus this XOXO. So if you like large size greetings, these Think Big Favorites are really nice. Now I'm inking it with my Stampin' Up! Early Espresso Classic ink. And then I'm going to stamp it directly onto my Whisper White cardstock. And I'm stamping it closer towards the right edge. So there you can see what that now looks like. So I can go ahead and very carefully remove this from my grid paper and then just rub off the repositionable adhesive. So I'm going to use my Crocodile Corner Chomper, the 1/2 inch corner, to round the top right corner of this piece like so. And then I can go ahead and stick it on my card. Now to stick it on my card, I want to align the right edge of my greeting with the right edge of my card. So I'm just going to use some double-sided adhesive, and I'll probably put just a teeny little bit of my Tombow on this side, because the double-sided adhesive will grip the pattern paper without a problem. And then I'm going to position it so that it's about 1/2 inch from the bottom edge of the card. And I'm helping align it or position it by looking at the polka dots, the embossed polka dots, and using that as a guide. So there you can see what that now looks like. Now Heather on her card had a circular, I guess a circular label that had the number 9 on it, and then she stamped a greeting on the craft. Instead of doing that, what I did was I opted to stamp a greeting onto a cardstock piece and create more of a straight going across piece rather than doing it 2 separate pieces as Heather did. And then stamping, really the greeting was the only stamped element on my card. I decided to add a heart, which I die cut using my Spellbinders Grand Caliber using this Spellbinders Presto Punch heart template. And one of the things, of course, I love about these Presto Punch templates is that you don't just use them in the Presto Punch, you can use it in die cutting machines. So I die cut it out of the Poppy Parade cardstock, and then I used the exact same embossing folder, this Perfect Polka Dots one from Stampin' Up, and emboss the heart. So now I'm going to stick the heart on using some dimensional foam. And to stick the heart on, rather than sticking it straight on like this, I'm sticking it a bit more on an angle so that it overhangs the left edge of the card just a little bit. So all I have to do is remove the backing from my Stampin' Dimensionals, angle my heart, and then make sure I'm covering the end of my greeting flag so that it looks kind of like so. And I don't, whenever I'm working with Stampin' Dimensionals, I don't push it down right away in case I have to reposition it. And then once I'm happy with the placement, I go ahead and push it down. And then as a final little touch, just to fill in this white space, I'm going to use some of these rhinestones. And these were rhinestones I bought in the clearance section of Michael's. So I'm just picking them off the sheet using using my tweezers, but I'm not pressing them down onto my paper, and I'm not going to press them down until after I'm happy with their placement. So as you can see, really at this point, from the way that I design my cards, that other than the craft base and the strip of paper, I've taken elements of Heather's but really deviated from it enough that I could definitely call this my own design. And then once you're happy with the placement, you just go ahead and press them down. And there you have it. This is what my finished project looks like. So now it's your turn. So here's how the challenge works. Create your own project using Heather's for inspiration. Now, while I chose to create a card using her inspiration piece, you can create any kind of a project you'd like. It could be a scrapbook page, something three-dimensional, altered art, anything that you would like. Post your project on your blog or online photo gallery, and then come back to the Paper Crafters Library blog. Scroll to the bottom of the Makeover Monday challenge post you see here. At the bottom of the post, you're going to see an In Links button. Click on that button, and in the window that opens up, there's going to be a box where you can copy and paste the URL that links directly to your blog post or online photo gallery. Now, if you're watching this video from somewhere other than my blog, in the video description section, you will see a direct link to the Makeover Monday blog post. Now, I will draw one name from all the participants on Monday, January the 16th, and the winner will receive one of our new spring grab bags featuring over $30 of spring-themed paper crafting products. See you on the blog.